The moment someone hurts you is not the moment to feel. It's the moment to freeze. Most people, when pain hits, react immediately. They cry. They yell. They send the angry text. They give the person who hurt them exactly what they wanted. Proof of impact. Proof that they still have power over your emotions. Proof that you can be shaken. But a small 1% responds differently. They feel the wound, but they don't bleed publicly. They process the pain, but they don't perform it. On the outside, they become ice. And that coldness does something no emotional outburst ever could. It terrifies the person who tried to break them. Today, I'm giving you 8 techniques to become psychologically cold when someone hurts you. Not numb, not dead inside. Cold, controlled, unreachable. This is Stoic Detachment in its most powerful form. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let feelings dictate your response. One of these techniques is used by interrogators and negotiators to remain unmoved under extreme psychological pressure. It takes practice, but once mastered, no one will ever see you crack again. Stay until the end for that one. The Stoics trained for this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Train cold thoughts. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by events, but by our judgments about them. Change the judgment. Seneca said that anger is temporary madness. Coldness is permanent sanity. In plain terms, your pain is real, but your reaction is a choice. Choose ice. Let's begin. Technique 1. Delay your response by 24 hours. When someone hurts you, your first instinct is to respond immediately, to defend, to attack, to show them you're affected. This instinct is the enemy. Emotions peak in the first few hours after an offense. Every word you say during this window is contaminated by that peak. You'll say things you regret. You'll reveal how deeply they reached you. You'll give them exactly the reaction they were fishing for. The 24-hour rule changes everything. You feel the pain. You acknowledge it internally. But you commit to responding nothing, saying nothing, doing nothing for a full day. When tomorrow comes, the emotional charge has reduced. Your clarity has returned. And your response, if you choose to give one at all, will be calculated instead of reactive. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. The 24-hour delay is how you exercise that power. You're not suppressing emotion. You're postponing action until emotion is no longer in control. Most people will never master this. They're slaves to immediacy. But you can train this skill one incident at a time, and each time you succeed, you become harder to hurt. Technique 2. Reframe the offense as information. When someone hurts you, they're giving you data. They're revealing their character, their priorities, their willingness to harm you. This is valuable information. Treat it that way. The emotional brain sees offense. The cold brain sees intelligence. Instead of asking, how could they do this? Ask, what does this tell me about them? Instead of spiraling into hurt, catalog the behavior for future reference. This reframe does 2 things. First, it distances you from the emotional impact. You become an analyst, not a victim. Second, it makes the pain useful. You didn't suffer for nothing. You collected information that will inform every future interaction with this person. Seneca practiced this constantly. When people disappointed him, he studied the disappointment. He didn't take it personally. He took it strategically. Every person who hurts you is teaching you something, either about them or about the gap in your judgment that allowed them close enough to cause damage. Learn the lesson, Filetebata. Remain cold while you do it. Technique 3. Remove their name from your vocabulary. Here's a subtle but powerful shift. When processing pain privately, stop using their name. Refer to them in generic terms. Someone did this. A person behaved this way. Names are personal. Names carry emotional weight. When you think, John hurt me, the specificity triggers memories, associations, feelings. But when you think a person demonstrated their character, the emotional charge reduces. This works because language shapes thought. The words you use internally affect how you feel. Cold people speak coldly, even in their minds. They don't give offenders the intimacy of names. They categorize them as examples. Examples of behavior to avoid. Examples of people not worth emotional investment. Epictetus taught that it is not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things. Your opinion of the offense changes when you remove the personal element. It becomes behavior, not betrayal. Behavior is easier to analyze coldly than betrayal. Practice this in your internal dialogue. Depersonalize the offender. They become a case study, not a wound. And case studies don't hurt. They inform. Technique for control your physical response first. Emotion lives in the body before it reaches the mind. When someone hurts you, notice what happens physically. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes shallow. Muscles tense. Jaw clenches. This is your body preparing for fight or flight. Cold people interrupt this process intentionally. They take one slow, deep breath. They relax their shoulders. They unclench their jaw. They slow their heart rate through deliberate breathing. This isn't suppression. It's regulation. You're sending signals to your nervous system that there is no immediate threat. Because there isn't. Someone hurt your feelings. That's not the same as someone threatening your survival. Your body doesn't know the difference. You have to teach it. When your body calms, your mind follows. You can't think coldly while your physiology is on fire. The masters of Stoic Detachment always start with the body. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the present moment is the only one we can control. In the moment of offense, control your breath. That's the foundation. Everything else builds from there. Breathe first. Think second. Respond third, or don't respond at all. But always breathe first. Quick pause here. If these techniques are shifting how you think about emotional control, subscribe to the Stoic Rise. You'll train your mind to become unreachable, unfazed, and unmoved by people who don't deserve your reaction. Now let's continue, because Technique 5 is the interrogator's method I mentioned. This is how professionals remain cold under maximum psychological pressure. Technique 5. Observe yourself from the third person. This is called dissociation, and it's used by interrogators, negotiators, and special forces operators to remain calm when emotion should be overwhelming. When someone hurts you, mentally step outside yourself. Watch the situation as if you're a camera in the corner of the room. See yourself as a character in a scene. Observe the other person. Observe your body. Observe the interaction from a distance. This third-person perspective creates instant emotional buffer. You're no longer inside the hurt. You're watching someone experience hurt, and that distance changes everything. Psychologists call this self-distancing. Research shows that people who adopt a fly-on-the-wall perspective during emotional events process them more rationally and recover faster. You're not pretending the hurt isn't real. You're observing it from a vantage point that reduces its impact. Epictetus taught that every situation has two handles, one by which it can be carried, and one by which it cannot. Third-person observation is the handle that allows you to carry pain without being crushed by it. When you feel the sting, zoom out. Watch yourself from above. Narrate the scene in your head. This creates the coldness that protects you from the heat of the moment. Technique 6. Ask, will this matter in 5 years? Most offenses feel monumental in the moment. They consume your thoughts. They feel like the end of something important, but zoom forward 5 years. Will you remember this? Will it shape your life? Or will it be a forgotten moment, absorbed by time? This question does something powerful. It forces perspective. It reveals that most hurts, however painful right now, are temporary. They feel permanent because emotion distorts time. But emotion lies. The Stoics practiced this constantly. Taking the view from above. Seeing your life from the perspective of eternity, where individual offenses become invisible specks in a much larger picture. When someone hurts you, pause and ask the question, if it won't matter in 5 years, it doesn't deserve your full emotional investment now. If it will matter in 5 years, then you need strategy, not emotion. Either way, the question creates coldness. Seneca wrote that we often suffer more in imagination than reality. The imagination makes today's pain eternal. The 5-year question shrinks it back to its actual size. Don't give temporary pain permanent emotional real estate. Technique 7. Prepare for offense before it happens. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each morning, you imagine the worst that could happen that day. You visualize betrayal, disappointment, and pain before they arrive. This sounds pessimistic. It's actually empowering. When you've already imagined someone hurting you, the actual hurt doesn't surprise you. And surprise is half the pain. The shock of how could they disappears when you've already considered that they could and they might. This isn't paranoia. You're not expecting everyone to betray you. You're simply removing the assumption that no one will. That assumption is naive. It sets you up for maximum impact when reality contradicts it. Marcus Aurelius started his mornings by reminding himself that he would meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful. By expecting it, he removed its power to disturb him. Prepare for pain, and it loses its sting. When it arrives, you're not shocked. You're ready, and readiness is the coldest response of all. Technique 8. Make your silence louder than their offense. When someone hurts you and expects a reaction, nothing unsettles them more than absolute silence. No defense, no attack, no acknowledgement. Just cold, total quiet. This silence communicates something devastating. It says, "You're not worth the energy. Your attempt to hurt me didn't land. I'm so far beyond your reach that responding would be a waste of my time." Most people can't do this. Their ego demands reaction. Their pain demands expression. But the masters of coldness understand that silence is the ultimate power move. It makes the offender question everything. Did it land? Does this person not care? Are they planning something? Your silence creates uncertainty. And uncertainty haunts people far longer than any comeback. Seneca taught that the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Silence is delay made permanent. You don't respond today. You don't respond tomorrow. You never respond. The offense dies in the void of your indifference. Not every hurt deserves your words. Most don't deserve anything. Give them the cold treatment in its purest form. Nothing at all. Now here's the rule that makes all 8 techniques work. Coldness is not cruelty. It's clarity. You're not becoming heartless. You're becoming strategic. You feel everything. You just don't let feeling control your actions. The cold person isn't numb. They're deliberate. They've trained themselves to place a gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where freedom lives. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Cold thoughts are not bitter thoughts. They're filtered thoughts. They've passed through the lens of Stoic wisdom and come out clear instead of clouded. Being cold when someone hurts you isn't about winning. It's about not losing yourself. You don't become what they triggered. You stay who you decided to be. That's Stoic detachment, not absence of feeling. Presence of control, not death of emotion. Direction of emotion. You feel it. You process it. You respond only if and when it serves you. Ice doesn't ask for approval. It doesn't explain itself. It simply exists, solid and unmoved. Become ice. If you're ready to train this level of emotional control, subscribe to the Stoic Rise. Every video will teach you to feel fully without reacting foolishly. To stay calm when the world expects you to crumble. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 8 techniques will you practice first? And what's a situation in your past where you wish you had been colder? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes naming the moment you lost control is the first step to never losing it again. I'll see you in the next one.